I hope you are having a wonderful day today. I just decided to jump on and just talk about some things that I enjoy doing. One of my favorite things to do is to have conversations with young adults, teenagers, and older kids about kind of their experiences with ADHD. Not only is it just interesting, but it also helps me understand aspects of their ADHD that's very different from mine, and kind of changes my perspective and allows me to get into their shoes, which helps me help them as we, continue to grow and explore and run into issues and stuff at home. So we often end up on a conversation about what they wish their parents and teachers and other adults in their lives knew about what living with ADHD is like. Sometimes it's things that they wish someone would have done or said differently. Sometimes it's something that they learned from maybe a helpful adult or a friend. But most often, it's just that they wish someone would have taken the time to try to see things from their unique perspective. It helps to develop some compassion and then understand what they do and why they do it sometimes. So here are a few of the things that your child wishes that you knew about life, living life with ADHD. The first one I'm talked about is trying harder doesn't work, right? So let's say it's a random Tuesday. Your daughter comes home from school and tells you that she's had a really good day. She only got corrected a few times during class. She remembered to bring all of her homework home and did all of her chores easily without any complaints, right? But the very next day, you get a note from school telling you that she wasn't paying attention at all today and couldn't complete her classwork. And not only did she forget to bring that uncompleted classwork back home, she also forgot to bring home the book that she needs to study for her history test. And then you send her to her room to do her chores. An hour later, you go check on her and she's laying on the floor, surrounded by papers, busy started a completely different project that has nothing to do with her, with what you sent her to like to clean her room, And this is where ADHD gets a lot confusing sometimes because it is very inconsistent, right? And so instead of yelling or punishing, you have a conversation with her. And the summary of your conversation is more or less, you did so well yesterday. I know you can do it. So let's try harder, right? One of the most frustrating things about ADHD is how inconsistent it can be. One day, the stars and the dopamine just happen to line up perfectly and everything is fantastic. And the next day, even though there seems to be no outside difference, the complete opposite's true. For whatever reason, their nervous system is just reacting differently that particular day. And believe me, if all it took was trying harder, they would do it. In fact, on those days, they're actually working harder than you can ever imagine. And they're just as frustrated as you are. They're probably 10 times more frustrated with themselves. And the harder they try, the worse things get, right? Because they're distracted with they're distracted with their own feelings, right? Oh my gosh, I can't do anything right. I'm such an idiot. I'm going to get in trouble. And so the whole kind of trying harder thing doesn't work because they are working really, really hard. So how can you help? Just let them know that you understand, right? Everybody has bad days and it's perfectly normal. Today, you can kind of, on that bad day, you can help them where you can and just encourage them to keep going, kind of, look, today was a rough day. It's fine. Tomorrow may be better. What can I help you with to make things go easier? And just kind of remind them that everything's going to be okay, right? Another thing is that behavior is really a way that they communicate. I know you understand that fidgeting, bouncing, being upside down while you're trying to watch TV, all of those different things are just part of the diagnosis. But what about the other stuff? The constantly arguing, the outbursts, the slamming doors, the meltdowns, those are all part of the journey too. Emotional regulation is hard for the ADHD brain. But did you know that one of these things with executive function is that they also have a very hard time verbalizing what they're thinking because it goes from thought to brain. There's sometimes a miscommunication between the two. And so when they're trying to explain to you what they want or what they need, it's very difficult. And so they end up using their bodies. All kids, but especially those with this type of nervous system, don't even know sometimes how to identify, much less express what they're feeling, even on a bad day. So they express it with things and how they act. They're not doing these things on perfect purpose. Their behavior is not set out to make your life more difficult, right? They're frustrated. They don't know how to tell you what they need. They're angry, they're sad, they're scared. There's all these different things and they don't know how. So they're very, it's not to make your life difficult. They just happen to be having a bad time. So the next time that your child's acting out, just take a few minutes to calm your own emotions first, right? You can't If he's acting out and very emotional and you come in roaring with your emotions, nothing's going to get accomplished. So take a second, take a deep breath, calm down, relax yourself, and then start asking questions, right? And it may be that, again, he doesn't have the words, but say, are you feeling sad? Are you scared? Are you frustrated? Did you get in an argument with a friend at school? Kind of just ask questions. And oftentimes just having that person, knowing that someone's going to listen to you and learning that there's a new way to listen through paying attention to their actions is all you need to calm down the situation. Another thing is that fitting in or making friends, however you want to phrase it that way, is really, really hard. From a very young age, your child knows that they act differently from the other kids, right? They pay attention. And the other kids notice that your child does things differently too. And just like you, the other kids who are in the quote unquote normal, or I don't like that word, but you know what I'm talking about, that other category, they get impatient and aggravated with the things that your kid does too. You know, the girl next to him is going to get so tired of lending him pencils every day when he keeps losing his. Her sister's going to get angry when she's constantly interrupting while she's trying to tell a story. They may not get picked for the team during recess because the other kids would rather not mess with the kid who's going to be staring off into the clouds or digging in the dirt, pulling up the grass, right? Instead of waiting for the ball. And as your kid gets older, you might notice that they're constantly kind of trying on different personalities, right? And it's very normal for all kids to experiment and start learning new and different things. And they change these pretty often. But with kids with ADHD that are they're at a higher risk of doing something called masking. They find one role that happens to work for them, whether that's the rebel, the class clown, the know-it-all, the perfectionist, whatever it is that seems to make finding friends easier or getting along in the classroom easier. The problem comes down to with this is when they start to rely on that mask as a means to hide who they actually are, right? There's some shame and things about how their brains work and their past behavior issues and things like that. And so that they rely on this mask all the time as almost their new identity. But the reality is that when they're hiding behind this mask, they lose touch with who they actually are. What they like, what they want to do, what they have plans to do. And this connection has a strong correlation to your child developing depression or other types of emotional problems later on in life because they're disconnected from their true selves. So one of the ways you can help is kind of to take the pressure off and help them take the pressure off themselves. So when he says, nobody likes me, I'm the only one with no friends, instead of coming back with, of course people like you. You remember, you played with this person the other day, or this person's your friend, and just try maybe a little bit different. You can say something like, give yourself time. Eventually you'll find the right group that's for you. Or it's better to have a small group of friends eventually that are going to be loyal to you than a big group of people that you don't really know if you can trust and count on. Just kind of be encouraging rather than discouraging, or rather than trying to pretend that it's not existing, right? Don't try to pretend that that they don't know what they're talking about. When they feel excluded and they know it's hard to fit in and they recognize they're having a hard time making friends, compared to some of their peers, just kind of validate it. And it's like, it's okay, but encourage them that eventually, you will find your people and that your people will find you. As parents, it's always so easy to get caught up in all of our own obligations and responsibilities. And often without meaning to, our kids kind of get put on our never-ending to-do list, right? And so taking time to see the world through their eyes is not something most of us are in the habit of doing every day. But I really encourage you to get curious about how your children experience the world, especially if they have something like ADHD. Ask them questions with no agenda and no assumptions. Just listen to their answers. Not only will you learn something new and interesting about your child, but chances are you're going to learn something new about yourself too. So thank you so much for listening, and I will be back probably next week. Take care. Bye.